yeah, welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining us. We hope you get a lot of value out of this so we can continue to bring you more webinars in the future. So during the webinar, you'll see there's a Q&A tab similar to the chat that you guys have been chatting on now. So you can obviously just drop any questions you have there. We do have Ray on the line as well as Rusilla and Marco, and they'll be answering questions. We may not get through all the questions, but you'll be able to jump on the chat afterwards and chat to the support staff on our live chat if you have any questions we didn't address. So yeah, today's webinar, we'll be going over just kind of the basics and a general overview. And I think you'll get quite a good idea of what you can actually do with VideoFX. We've seen online, not quite seeing how powerful it actually is. So yeah, we hope this is super valuable. We've been working on this for over a year now. We built it to be super dynamic, which is obviously why it's taken a lot longer than we anticipated. The team didn't want to really launch something that was like subpar. We wanted to give you guys something that was really robust, and then you could then obviously stand out from your competition. So we do appreciate your patience to all of our existing users and welcome all of our new users. I think the awesome part about making VideoFX so dynamic, we now have the flexibility to add effects and features a lot quicker to VideoFX. So we're also open to suggestions. If you guys see anything online and you'd like to add, or you think we could create an effect for you, we're really happy to see you guys posting that either on our Facebook group or getting hold of us on the live chat and letting us know. As I said before, for people joining, you have the option to post those questions on the Q&A at the bottom. Yeah, and you can chat to us afterwards if you don't quite get your question answered. Okay, so I'm going to run through the basics first and jump straight into the builder. So this is a normal screen that you'll see when you're doing stills or GIFs, if you're familiar to Snapic. We've pretty much kept it the same in terms of this screen, but so you'll be able to select from your template library. This is presets we've added ourselves, and obviously we'll be adding more in the future. The Save tab, this will have all of the ones that you create yourself, so it'll only be available to you. I've added a couple that we're going to be working on today. So before we get to any of these actual templates, I'm just going to run through the builder for the people that don't quite understand everything, just give you a little bit of an overview. So we got these three tabs. There's master settings, recordings, and timeline. So master settings you can think of as just the settings that overlay over the entire video. So for example, if you're adding an overlay over here, this will then overlay over the entire video and not just specific clips like we'll get to on the timeline a little bit later. So that'll overlay there. The soundtrack, same thing, overlays over the entire video. Yeah, you can choose a resolution, so square, landscape, or portrait. We have had requests for different resolutions and we will potentially be adding that in the future. The play preview while recording, this is quite nice. It'll allow you to play music through a Bluetooth speaker, for example, through the iPad to the guests. And if they have to dance like in sync with the music, then that's what's going to help there. There's a couple Bluetooth speakers that are compatible. Some have told us there are a couple that may not be. Yeah, so last thing on this page, preview video, you can upload a preview video. This is what's going to show to the guest on the iPad. So you'll be able to put your own there, and then you can obviously rename the template to whatever you like and then store it so you have it for later. Okay, cool. So let's jump into recordings now. This is what's going to be recorded by the iPad. So you could add multiple recordings. For this example, we're going to add two. You can have the countdown text. So this will obviously show two guests while it's counting down. You can choose your countdown interval. So we'll set it here to 2 seconds. And then you can have it auto start. This is quite nice. If you have multiple videos in a timeline, you don't want the guest to have to continually click tap to start, then it'll auto record. So Yeah, recording duration, we're going to set this as well just to 3 seconds, and then I'll explain a little bit in the next tab. Activate confessional video. This is obviously for those times where you want to run a confessional for, let's say, a wedding or a brand activation, and you really want to have control over the minimum and maximum duration. I'll give you an example. Like at a wedding, you don't want someone coming on and speaking for 3 seconds, you have it recording for 15, and then you've just got this 12-second pretty much dead spot of time where there's no recording. So this will allow you to have like a stop button on the iPad that'll stop the recording. And then if you also only want them to speak for a certain time, or you want them to speak a little bit longer than the minimum, you can set that there. I'm going to turn that off though for now. So yeah, that's pretty much recordings. We're going to jump over now to timeline. So the timeline is going to now be where you actually setting up the different clip elements to make up your video experience. On your right here, you have the duration, maximum of 30 seconds, and you'll see now how it adds up when you start adding elements. So these are the different elements. You've got app recorded video, confessionals. As I said before, this is quite a straightforward one, and it just records, and you can obviously set the volume on the recording. Then you've got 4 up. This has 4 frames. So if you want to do 4 videos in 1 frame or 3 videos in 1 frame, and then uploaded video, which will be used for like your pre or post roll videos, or even popping it in between videos to show an ad or that sort of thing. Okay, so what we're going to do for this example, I'm just going to add a app recorded video. This is again what's recorded by the app. I'll add 2 and then a post roll. So here we just added 2 app recorded videos and 1 post roll. In the app recorded video, you'll see here, this is where you set which recording. So you've got recording 1, that's referring to this recording over here. And then we could set, let's say, this recording to recording 2. And then this one will now record 3 seconds. So you can see in the bottom here, it shows you exactly how long this clip is. So we got the full 3 seconds recording at normal speed. So over here, you can change this if you would like to have, let's say, 0.5 seconds. So that will slow it down. Sorry, not seconds, but half speed, and then quarter speed. And then obviously speeding it up this way. So we'll leave that at normal speed. And then the recording volume, we don't want to do the recording volume, so we set that to 0. Then reversing playback, this is obviously not going to boomerang. This is going to play this clip in reverse. If you want to boomerang, you would set the first recording here to be playing forward. And then you'd set the second recording. We do recording 1 again, but then we would set it to be reversed. So this would create a boomerang. Your video frame section, this is just if you have an overlay that's let's say 10 pixels all the way around, and you want to set the frame inside so that the overlay doesn't sit on top of the video, that you would do here. And you'd also not, if you want to rotate it, you do that here. So for the actual video frame, this is where you're going to be setting where exactly the video sits on the frame. Cool. Your overlay, I'll explain this a little bit more when we get to the actual template. There's a whole lot of different blend modes that you can use, and I'll show you how that applies to one of the templates that we did. But yeah, you can add an overlay that will apply specifically to this clip. Now, bear in mind, this is a timeline, so how it will see, like how to be viewed to the user will be, this will be number 1, then they'll see this, and then they'll see this as a post roll. So you're uploading a video here, it can be like an advert that is your post roll for your for the actual experience. Again, I'll show you that with some of the actual practical elements we have going forward. And then also you can save to the library here. This will save to that personal library of yours. So if you have something you like particularly and you'd like to reuse it, you do that here. Okay. Then one of the most important things is our effects library. So you got the effects over here. These are all the presets. So we have a bunch of filters. We've got horizontal panning. So if you'd like to pan and then just a bunch of other ones which we'll show you again in some of the templates, like double exposure and comic. People love beautify. K-dash is just a beautify with a black and white. So yeah, you'll have some of the presets, and then once you create, they'll be saved here, which I'll show you now. So if we go into building an effect, this is the effect builder. Again, we can change the name so that you know, and you can save it to your own library to use in the future if you're stacking multiple. So let's say we stack chromatic aberration. This gives you that glitch effect. I'll explain in the template a little bit more in depth about that, because that's something a lot of people are asking for. And then we're going to go ahead and do comic. So these here, the way this works is they stacked. So it will first apply number 1 and then apply number 2. Again, if you add other things, so if you, let's say, want to do it with a green screen, you can put chroma key or have a color replace, which does the same thing. So we'll add that in there, and then you can choose an actual color with transparency, or you can go ahead here and then just upload an actual background. So this is pretty much our effect builder, but we'll be getting into that a little bit more with the actual templates. So I'm going to go out now, and we're going to get started with our first template, which is this duplicate scroll. So you can see here we've added a audio overlay. So we've got the soundtrack playing. We've added an overlay here, which will apply to the whole video. I'm going to mute this. So this is obviously what we're going to achieve. You have your animated overlay moving across from left to right. It's animating. You can change that to whatever you want, but this is the preview that I'll show to guests. So we've named it duplicate scroll. We'll jump in here to the recordings. Here you'll see we've got a 5-second recording duration, and then just a 3-second interval. Okay, inside of timeline. So here, as we said, we've got this 5-second, it's playing at normal speed. We're gonna ramp this down to 0. We don't want any sound coming through. And then what you'll notice here is the APNG. So this is pretty much a animated PNG. It's a series of PNGs that you use something like this EasyGIF creator. It's just an online creator. You'll go to APNG, you upload a series of those PNGs, and then it will basically create an APNG. So this will support APNG here with transparency as well, as you can see in this example. I'll jump straight into the actual effect. So this one's pretty straightforward. We've just got a green screen set to chroma key green. We've applied this background when we did the actual shot because it just gave us a little bit more depth. And then duplicate scrolling here. This is obviously one of the effects. So you can choose the width of the strip, the speed at which it scrolls, and then the fade in between. So this will be the fade between each strip. And then you can mirror, which I'll show you in the example. It just gives you the effect. You'll see that guys quite close together over here and the far apart over here. That's because we did the mirror effect. So that's what that will create. I'm going to leave a couple seconds now because this template is pretty much done. It is that easy. And if you have any questions, we'll just let you pop them up for a second. So I see someone's asking what the difference is between color replace and green screen. I'll let Ray jump in on that one, although they are very similar.
So they are quite similar. The color replace effect is like a more general version of the green screen effect, where they do the same thing, but the color replace can do a little bit more. So the green screen one always replaces it with transparency, this chosen color with transparency, and then applies the background behind that. With the color replace one, you can replace it with any color. And there's another slight difference between them, and that's that with the green screen effect, any effects applied on top of that one will also affect the background, whereas with the color replace, the effects applied on top of it won't affect the background, so the background will stay as is.
Cool, thanks, Ray. I hope that answers your question. We're going to jump now into the 4-up. So this is quite a requested effect that we managed to get. I'm just going to mute it. So yeah, so this is just 4 different colors. We're using the color replace as Ray was speaking about now, and using the comic which gets applied on top of the person. We didn't do any overlays for this, but you're welcome in here. You let's say add maybe a little pop art logo or a company logo, easily done with this overlay over here. And then again, adding a soundtrack, changing the resolution easily from this panel over here. So in the recordings, you'll see here's just some countdown text, again, can be displayed. Something I didn't mention before, it's really nice if you want a user to then change position, you can have the text change for each recording and show while it's counting down, and then just increase that countdown interval. Yeah, so we set with a 3-second here. So with 4-up, this is just, we chose this element here. If you wanted to recreate it, you'll see there it's got a 3-second duration. That's the duration of our recording. And what we've done is we've got recording 1 on each quadrant. So now each one of these is, you can change the different effects, increase the volume, reverse them. Again, reversing won't boomerang it, but it'll play it in reverse. So what we want to do here, just so I can show you, each one of these you'll see has recording 1. So right now we're only using recording 1 on this 4-up, but if we go now back into recordings and we go ahead and add another recording, let's say we'll make this also 3 seconds, we'll jump back into the timeline. Now you'll see these 2 on the right are using recording 2 and these are using recording 1. What I want to do is have these 2 be using recording 2, and then these will be using recording 1, just to change it up a bit. And then again, we've applied the effects here ourselves. So it's just a color replace and a comic. This is what Ray was saying. The comic then applies to the subject, not to the background. That's one of the main differences with the color replace. You can obviously adjust your smoothing. You can play around with this. It'll just change the comic filter slightly, and then maybe even add different color to the edges is what that will do. So we're using chroma key green and we're replacing it here with red. Then what we'll do here is you'll see it's just replacing it with green. Same thing with the comic. And then over here, it's just replacing it with blue, and then in the bottom replacing with purple. So that's pretty much how we get that effect that you saw with the 4-up. If you'd like to boomerang, that will be this here. This will boomerang all these clips. But as you'll see, this number here jumps to 6 because it's obviously going to play forward and then play back. So we're then doubling the duration of the video. Just to keep in mind, obviously, it's awesome to boomerang, but doubles the size of your videos to guess. So it's just something to keep in mind. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much this. I'm going to leave another couple seconds. Welcome to ask some questions. We'll see what we can get to. I see someone asked about the best duration and how that relates to processing. It's not necessarily the duration of the video, but also, of course, the effects that get applied that will take longer to process. So it's just about, I think, creating the effect, creating the video, and then just testing it out and seeing if you think it's acceptable at your event. But yeah, we've worked really hard to get it pretty efficient. Okay, we're going to jump into our double exposure. Also quite a simple one, very effective. We've got a soundtrack here, and then your preview video, so you can just see what it's going to look like. So it's got a pre-roll here, and then straight into a double exposure where we've got an effect or background actually applied to the subjects, and then a background behind them. So again, using green screen, not much to explain here. We've just got a 5-second recording duration. So here we, again, using the uploaded video, if I drag this to the end, this would then play at the end instead. This is the video we're using for this pre-roll. And then for the actual app recording, we've got the 5 seconds. We're doing it at 1 times, but you can always slow it down or speed it up. And then we've got the overlay here, which is, again, only going to be applied to this clip. We don't want to apply it to this here, as it will then apply over this pre-roll that we have in the beginning of this uploaded video. So if we jump in here, double exposure, pretty straightforward. We, again, chroma key green, but you can select the color over here if you have a different color background. Chroma key blue, I think, is 210 degrees. And then we've just got a background here that it'll obviously take this color, replace it with, and then it'll apply this onto the foregrounds, onto the subject. And then you can adjust how much you want to see of this on the subject. So sometimes you want a bit of the subject to come through, that you'll do here. We did showcase something at Vegas where this was animating. It is something we'll hopefully be adding in the near future. You'll be able to animate this if you want the foreground to animate, which gives it quite a cool effect. Yeah, and then you can go ahead and save this to your library if you want. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because it's a pretty straightforward one. So now we're moving on to the green screen. So this was something we did as much as the subject looks like they're moving. All they're doing is sitting down and then kind of moving their arms, so flailing a little bit. And we actually animated them across the screen. So that's something kind of cool you can do now, is actually animate the subjects, of course, using green screen. And then what we did here is we actually faded. You'll see here it goes to yellow and then shows the post-roll. So that just gave us that smooth transition into the next post-roll video. Same thing here, 5-second recording, what we chose. And then we've got our recording from the iPad of that gentleman kind of lying down, and then this uploaded video, which is just showing some branding for pizza. Okay, so on the app recorded video here, we've chosen recording 1. That's all we have, so there won't be anything else available. And we've got 5 seconds playing at normal speed. And then we are going to apply the effect. So what we have here is we've got the pan and zoom. You'll see this is keyframing. So now we're getting a little bit more complex in terms of how you keyframe these certain effects. You'll see that in the glitch and the glass lens distortion effect, you'll be keyframing. We felt like this was the best way to handle it. And there's also a really nice preview that guys worked really hard on. So pan and zoom. So our initial keyframe starts at this point here. You can adjust the X. We want to pan from left to right. If you wanted to pan from right to left, you'd set it at 100%. And then the second keyframe, We would then set across here, sorry, that's a Y, set the x-axis across to the left. This will then pan from right to left, as you can see here. We've got a bit of movement. If you wanted that to stay exactly the same, so panning from the one side to the other and not actually having any zoom levels, you'd set this to the same. So go ahead and set it to 114, I'll say 115. If you want some finer controls, you can actually use the keyboard. Left and right arrow will give you finer controls here. And we'll do the same thing, set this to 115 over here. Get close and then use the fine controls. So yeah, from this point, we'll go to the end. So we're moving up, so our X. This should be at 58 as well. So now having these at the same point, you'll see now the pan is perfectly straight across. Something to keep in mind is the animation duration. So this is important, as you'll see in the clip. Let me just save this. So you'll see here that this is a 5-second recording. If you have a duration, let's say of 10 seconds, it's going to slow down this animation. So it's really slow because it's over 10 seconds. If we reduce it down, it's going to be really quick. And obviously this is a 5-second duration. So if you're setting it to 10, it's going to cut off 5 seconds and you're not going to get that full animation. So it's always something just to keep in mind when you're creating these keyframes, that the animation duration lines up with your actual recording or that clip that you're working on. So let's say now we wanted it to be 3 seconds, but we wanted to add another keyframe. So right now, if we go to the start here, we'll see it's animating from left to right. Maybe we'd like to add that zoom at the end, which is what this keyframe has done now. And if we want to change that point, we could say animate it to the top left, and then this would be 2 seconds to keep that animation in the 5-second range. We play that back, that's how it will look. So this is really awesome for panning, zooming, and then obviously adding other effects to create something really cool. We'll show you in the glitch template. So what we did here as well is just do a color replace. So we did a background effect. So just basically green screen replacing chroma key with this background. And it's just of space with the explosion. So you'll see now it's kind of almost going into that yellow. And then just to finish it off, so it syncs with the next post roll that I showed you earlier of the yellow. We wanted to add that in here. So this overlay is going to be applied, but needs a clipping mask. And you'll see that it fades into yellow. So that gives you transition from the initial video into that post roll, makes it look a lot smoother. You may need a designer for this if you're not too savvy with creating clipping masks. But basically how it works is you'll see they're exactly the same video, just the black space will then be the iPad will know to make that transparent. So all that it's actually going to show is the white spaces, which in this video is the objects that are floating in front of the subject, and then everything behind it then becomes transparent. So this is how the clipping masks work. We'll have an article up for this for the people that would really like to tackle something like this. It's a lot easier than trying to sync up an APNG and getting the timing right because of the frame rates in between the clips. So this is a lot better way once you understand it to apply a video overlay. Again, I'll leave a couple seconds now. If you have any questions possibly about this template specifically, and then we'll jump onto the lens distortion effects. Okay, we're going to jump into what we've called glass lozenge, this lens distortion. So this is what we're going to create now. It's just that glass bubble moving across the screen. Got an overlay here and then the soundtrack. Again, just a 6-second duration on this. We'll jump into our timeline. So here you'll see now, what we're going to do is actually slow the video down. So you'll see here from 3 seconds to 5 seconds, we've gone with a 0.25 multiplier on the speed. So it's going to slow it down 4 times, increasing. So here we're only actually using 2 seconds, but it's times 4. So we're getting 8 here because it's 4 times slower. And that's giving us that slow-mo effect here in the sense. So it's normal speed, and then you'll see when we're hitting that point there, she's in slow motion, and then it's gonna speed back up again once that 8 seconds is passed. There we go. So that's what we're achieving here. So the first one here, we've got recording 1, we got 0 to 3 seconds at normal speed, and then we're going 3 seconds to 5 seconds at that 0.25, and then that remainder of the video at normal speed, 1x. And we're going to put this all the way down to 0 downs, recording to come through. Okay, and then all we did here, green screen in the background, because on this third video there wasn't any lens distortion. And over here we had the very simple lens distortion, also using green screen. And that would be just the pass there. So I'm going to go to a more complex one over here. Go to this lens distortion. So you'll see now this duration, we've got a second, and we've got 0.5 seconds, we've got 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. So this is how it's going to be animating in that period of the video. We've actually got it at 8 seconds, so you'll see it ends before, and then because of the slow-mo, you're getting that full recording. So I'm just going to show you how this works. So this initial value, you could set it. So I'm going to go ahead and set it straight over the people so you can see. We can increase the radius or decrease it, and then increase this refraction. So it gives you a bit of like a concave or convex effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this ball here animate top right, and then come animate back into the bottom left. So we'll go onto our second keyframe over here, which will be about here. We are going to adjust this slightly so that you'll be able to see exactly where the keyframe is, but we're going to go top right for now. So just bring this radius down, put a bit more refraction. Okay, so now we've got it animating from the center up to the top right. Let's just bring this back. Okay, and now we want to bring it all the way back in. So we'll go to the keyframe over here, and that's this one at the end. And we're just going to move, just this radius in the middle of this. And we're going to move it all the way to the end. So we're going to have it end there. And now you'll see it's going to animate up here and then down into the corner. So that's pretty much that. You can obviously add in extra keyframes and then go crazy with the effect. I don't know if anyone has any other questions. There's not much else to this. So I'm going to jump out and jump straight into the multiply. So this is something I spoke about earlier. Here you've got an overlay, got our preview video. Again, this is to preview on the iPad to guests, so you can upload this. You can possibly take the recording, use Snappic, create one of the videos, and then pop it in here. We'll think of ways in the future of streamlining that. We've got a 2-second duration, and yeah, very basic. We don't have any effects applied, but we do have this really cool transparent APNG. Again, I don't know if there's anyone new here that didn't see before, but you can go to a program like EasyGIF, and create it using a series of frames with transparency, using something like this. So yeah, we're using the 2 seconds here of the app recorded, and then what we want to do is have it boomerang. So this is not reversed right now, and then recording 1 still, same playback range, and we're going to hit reverse playback. So this is going to play this forward and then play this back, and that's going to give us that boomerang. And that's pretty much, you can actually play around with these blend modes the same as you would in Photoshop. It'll just change the actual blend. So you can try color dodge, hard light, some colors get affected quite nicely, creating a cool effect with the different blend modes. So yeah, that's pretty much this one. I'll leave a couple seconds. We've only got 4 more templates. So if you want to ask any questions about the previous 2, you can do so now. We see a couple of questions. You guys are saying you aren't seeing these. We are going to make a couple of these available. And like I said, we'll be making them available to you guys going forward. Yeah, I've just created these myself just to show you. And some of the ones we used for our videos for the promotion stuff that you guys can use to showcase to your clients. So we'll jump into the slow-mo. I'm just going to mute this. So this is our slow motion with a text overlay animated. We used a video clipping mask again. We've got this overlay here, which is the logo here in the bottom corner. And then we've got a cool audio track. I did mention on Facebook that someone was asking for audio. Artlist is really good, as well as Premium Beats, where you can get royalty-free music. So we'll jump here into recording. We've got a 4-second recording duration. And if we jump into our timeline, so you'll see here, we've got 1.5 seconds. So we got 0 to 1.5. We're running at 1x, so just normal speed. We're using our recording 1. This is all going to be recording 1 because we're basically just manipulating that 1 recording. So we've got then 0.5 to 2 seconds at 4 times slower, so 0.25. And then we're going to go the 2 seconds to 3.4 at 0.25 as well. Now the reason you'll see these are actually both at the same speed. So while we broke them up, reason being, you'll see these do not have any overlays, whereas this one is using this masked overlay. So as you'll see in the example, it's playing the video, it's already in slow motion now, but then only the next slow motion clip will show the overlay. So that's how we got that effect with those timings. So now you take, if you had a designer and you wanted them to do the actual clip, just remember this one is 5.6. So you want to be animating over 5.6 seconds. You can obviously change that duration yourself. And then all we've added is a masked overlay. So you'll see it here in the effects. And it's this one over here. And then all you'll need again is the video and then the mask. So again, our software will make all the black transparent and then show through the white of the video. Okay, and then yeah, if you really wanted to, you could actually add another effect. So let's say you wanted to add a chromatic aberration, so that glitch, or the actual glitch effect, this glitch TV. You could do that, false color, you could add duplicate strips, so like you could layer a whole lot of effects, but again, keep in mind that this might affect your actual time that the video is being rendered by Snappic. So just keep that in mind when you're creating these. And so, yeah, that's basically how you'd set this up. We've got a normal, and just keep in mind here for everyone watching, you'll see there, this is almost like a timeline. So going 0 to 1.5, 1.5 to 2, and then 2 to 3.4. So you'll see we're actually not using the full clip here, which is not a problem. The software just automatically clips the rest of it, and you'll get a total duration of 9.1 seconds for this video. Okay, this one's also pretty easy. All we've got is an overlay here with a logo, and then we've got this cool effect over, which is showing us a bit of the image behind, and how we got that is quite basic. You can also reduce the sound. So we're doing it at 1x, it's a 5-second recording, and we've got this mask again, but we've just applied the color replace to give us the green screen background. You can obviously do it without that, and then apply a comic to the actual subject and the background using this effect here. And the mask overlay, worked quite well for this because they're actually exactly the same video. So if you have a video black and white, then you'll be able to use them for both, and whatever is black, again, the software will make that transparent and then show what's behind it through, which in our case here was this cool background and then the lady with the comic filter applied. So that's how we achieved that. It's pretty straightforward, but it gave us a really, really cool effect. Got our last 2 templates here. So if you have any other questions, we're just going to allow a couple seconds, see if there's anything I can answer. So Ray, I think that's quite a good question. I don't know if you want to answer that. Nick W said, can we make the guy in pizza time any size? If so, how?
So the subject in the pizza time video, you can adjust the size of that by editing the pan and zoom filter that's been set up for the effect. So you can just adjust the zoom level of that filter to adjust how big the subject is.
Thank you. Yes, it will be, Carlos, it will be available afterwards. We'll probably be posting it to YouTube and then have it available on our website at some point. All our webinars now and going forward. Yes, you can shrink him using the zoom, that pan zoom effect for Nick W. Okay, so we're going to jump into our last 2 here. We've got Stacy Moon, which is this. We're going to show you how we did this. So pre-roll, we've got double exposure, which are those, so I'm back here, which are these lights over the subject. And then we've got this awesome stream of lights going in front of the subject and then actually passing behind the subject, which created a really cool effect. And then jumping into a double exposure on the second video. So we've got a different background there, and then that same effect around the subject. So we've got an audio clip over the whole video. We've chosen landscape for this. And we've got 2 recordings, so that you'll see was that first recording of the girl rotating, and then of her looking up was the second recording over here. So we've got a 3-second and then a 2-second recording. If we jump into the timeline, you'll see we've got an uploaded. So again, a pre-roll. We've got to upload it at the end of our timeline, so post-roll. And those are those videos I showed you before, just to make it look a bit more like a movie trailer. So our ad in the middle here, our video recording in the middle here is using video recording 1, and our second using recording 2. So you'll see here we're using 0 to 1 second, and we're doing that really slowly. So we didn't actually use this full second of recording, but it does seem, it doesn't kind of work doing less than a second when you're doing the recording. You want the guest to have some type of movement. So even if you're cutting it short by slowing it down, it's not a problem. And then we've got recording 2 here, so it's using the full 2 seconds, and we only slowed that down half speed, so it gave us 4 seconds here. So both being 4, this is at 0.25, so 4 times slower, and this is only half, so 2 times slower than the initial recording. If we go here into the effect, so we've got a masked overlay. So for this, we just have this as our background. We wanted that beam to carry on behind the subject. So if you look here, we have this doing the clipping mask again. So this allowed us to have these beams of light be in front of the subject because it's clipping only those out. And then we jump over to double exposure. Then we have this being applied to the subject, and then this in the background, you'll see this has the beams of light. So that's what carries on behind the subject. And then this gets applied onto the subject. And then using this as the actual overlay, only these beams of light here are then shown as an overlay in front of the subject. And that allowed us to get these awesome beams here in front of the subject there. So running all the way in front of her and behind. That's just in the background, those beams. And again, we did the same with that there. So in video 2, in the double exposure, it's the same. We have these beams in the background, and then this is being applied to the subject. And then we did the same light beam in front using that same clipping mask on the subject. So that's in front of them applied over, and then it looks like it's moving from the front to the back. Yeah, so that's this template. Also not too complicated. I think once you get a hang of the masked overlay, that mask overlay will really help in creating some awesome effects. Our last template that we'll be looking at is this glitch jump cuts. The jump cuts is something we've been asked about a lot. It was requested by a lot of users, and now you can really get creative with our various effects. So panning and zooming, slowing it down, speeding it up, which is what we did here, adding an overlay, play it softly. So here we're doing slow motion, we're doing that glitch effect, and then we're obviously jumping between different videos, and it really does give you a premium effect. So how we did this, we've got 3 recordings here. We're doing a 3 second on the first one, 2 seconds for the second recording, and 2 seconds for the third recording. Not a confessional, so we're not using any of those settings. As I said before, it's really nice. You can use the countdown text to tell them to change the pose, grab a prop, or move their position, and we'll do that there. We've opted to do an auto start here, and that's quite important, so you don't have the guest recording this. So how it starts is we're recording here for 3 seconds, it auto starts it, then they don't have to tap the screen, straight into a 2-second recording, auto starting again, straight into a 2-second recording. So it's quite a nice flow. If you wanted them to tap the screen and just get started straight away, you could obviously have auto start and then have countdown here, maybe increase it to 5, and then say get ready for your video. Then if we jump into the timeline, you'll see we have quite a few elements here. That's so we can get that jump cut effect, panning and zooming, and then adding this chromatic aberration to them. So we'll start off, I'll just run through these first three. We've got 0 to 1 seconds, and that's where you get the 1 second from. It's playing at normal speed using recording 1. The second video is recording 2, that's playing from 0 to 0.5, and that's again 0.25 speed, so we've slowed it down. And then we jump into the third recording here, using recording 1. Should not say third recording, but the third clip of our timeline using recording 1. You can select whichever one you want, but if you look on number 1, it's using recording 1, and number 3, recording 1. So you'll see we started off 0 to 1, and then we decided to use on this third part from 1 second to 2.5 at half speed. So this is actually using the same recording, and it's cutting out these sections to place on our timeline at different speeds. So that gives you that slow-mo as well as the jump cut. So what we did here is we went with a chromatic aberration, very similar to the others that I showed you earlier. So using keyframes, we can move this chromatic aberration across, and this is hats off to Ray. He did an awesome job on all these keyframe builders. So if we go, this is the initial frame, you can see we at dead 0 in the center, so there's nothing happening. If you wanted it to start off with a glitch, then you'd obviously adjust it here, but we're going to start it off at 0, so it's plain. And then into the first keyframe, we're going to go with, so I just want to move it over. Also, always remember to keep it here at the end if you're on keyframe number 2. So we can move this over to the top right there. And then add a keyframe. So we're going to animate. So right now it's animating from nothing to just right, up into the top right like that, and then back down. So that's because I added this keyframe, and this is going dead center to where we were. So now we're at the end. So this would be keyframe 1, and we are going to add points so you can see where the keyframe is. But roughly, if you've added 2, so we have the initial, you have keyframe 1, and you have keyframe 2, then initial would be here, keyframe 1 here, and then keyframe 2 at the end. So we're going to be adjusting keyframe 2, so I'm going to jump over to that. And now I'd like it to animate the opposite direction. So we'll go over to that side. You'll see the different colors. I mean, you can animate them both away from each other if you like. I'll show you how that looks. So we're animating up, bottom left, and then it'll split out. So that will give you that effect. But if we just want it to animate into the top right and then out to the left, we just move it like that. So then it's going to go top right and then out to the left. So the keyframing, once you get a hang of it, you can create some really awesome effects with that. Panning and zooming, what we did here is we did a quick zoom into the subject, and that gave us this effect. So it's at this point now, you see it zooming in, and you can use it in various ways to pan, zoom, zoom out. This is just the chromatic aberration. And here we did something a little different. And we did a zoom in on the subject. And then just changing up the animations. You'll see at the end it does quite a quick, this is a really quick one, so you'll see that animation at the end finishes off really quickly, animating up and then back down again. And that'll be due to these really small durations of 0.1 seconds. You'll see if we extended it, we change the animation completely, so it's going to go quickly up and then really slowly down into the center. I'll show you again that little jitter at the end. So yeah, a lot you can do with this. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. We obviously will be adding a ton more. I'm hoping to do another one of these in the future with other stuff. There will be a survey that will be available after this chat. It's unfortunately something you have to leave your browser open for about 5 minutes, and then the tab will change and you'll be able to answer the survey. It's just so we can get an idea if you guys enjoyed it, what you'd like to see next in the next webinar. But yeah, just from everyone at Snapic, we really appreciate the support. We've worked super hard this year, and we continue to work really hard to bring you guys awesome features so that you can really all grow your business. That's pretty much the most important thing to us. So yeah, thank you very much, and goodbye.